You're welcome back. This is Mr. Hassan's Maths channel. I'm now answering question number 8 from the May-June 2022 Pure Mathematics Paper 1, Variant 1 from Cambridge 9709. And this question, part A, is about transformations of functions and specifically trig functions. So it says y equals sine x is transformed to the curve y equals 4 sine a half x minus 30 degrees. Describe fully a sequence of transformations that have been combined, making clear the order in which the transformations are applied. So y equals sine x has been transformed to become y equals 4 times the sine of a half x minus 30 degrees. Okay, so when we have transformations, and we have to understand which is the correct order of transformations, what we should understand is we start with what's inside the function. We always start with those transformations that are associated with the changes inside the function. So basically the changes that take place with the x, not with the y. So changes that take place with this x, not the y. Okay, so you can think of this as, you know, the original function, the x has been, this is kind of the transformation that's taken place. Okay, so the original function, the x has been replaced by a half x minus 30, and the whole function is multiplied by 4. You can think of it like this: 4 times f of x, or half x I should say, minus 30. So we always start with what's inside the function. Okay, and when we're dealing with what's inside the function, we kind of always do the opposite. So we do the opposite of BIDMAS. So we do take the opposite of the order of operations. So we know BIDMAS, normally we go this way, okay, but we're going to go this way for the x. What's inside the function, we do the opposite. So we do with addition and subtraction before division and multiplication. So in this case, we're going to deal with the subtraction before the multiplication. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, the first thing that takes place is a translation of, and this is going to be 30, 0, positive 30, 0. Okay, positive 30 and 0. And secondly, we can say, we'll deal with this half. Now, when you multiply by a half, it's a horizontal stretch. We can say a stretch in the x direction, a horizontal stretch. That means in the x direction. And the scale factor is always, the reciprocal of the number that's multiplying x. It's always kind of inside, is always opposite. This is minus 30. The translation is 30, positive 30. If it's a half x, the scale factor is going to be 2. It's going to be the reciprocal of a half. Okay, that's when we're dealing with things inside the function. Once we finish with what's inside the function, then we move to the parts which are outside the function. So then the third thing and final thing is a stretch. So it's a vertical stretch, which means the y direction, and the scale factor for that stretch is going to be, as it is, 4. When it's outside the function, it says 4, it's a 4, exactly as it is. Okay, outside the function, you treat it as normal. So outside the function, what affects the y, you treat it going this way, following BIDMAS. Inside the function, you do the opposite of BIDMAS. You always start with what's inside, and then you go to what's outside. Okay, so that's how we deal with these. So there's 3 things that have taken place. Now, some of you might have seen in the mark scheme that it says something about starting off with a translation of 60 degrees. Okay, that's an alternative answer. And I'll just show you, in case you don't understand why they've done that. Okay, they've given you this answer, then they've given you another option. And what they've done is they've taken this a half x minus 30. And they've basically what they've done is they've taken out like a half as a factor of, it's not really a factor, but they've done this. They put sine of, and they put a half, and they put x minus 60 degrees. They've done something like this. Okay, and they've started off here with basically a 60 degree, it's a half times x minus 60. So what they've done here is something slightly different. So now what we have in this case is we have to deal with what's inside the function in the opposite order to BIDMAS. In the opposite order to BIDMAS. Okay, now with BIDMAS, we would deal with the brackets first, and then we will deal with the multiplication. But in this case, we're going to do the opposite. So if you think about it like this, then the first step would be, okay, the first step would be that we deal with the horizontal stretch. Horizontal stretch. Okay, and the factor would be 2. Okay, this is in the x direction. Okay, that's if we rewrote it in this form. Okay, if we rewrote it in this form. Okay, horizontal stretch in the x direction, scale factor 2. Then the second thing would be, then we'll deal with what's inside the function. We'll say a horizontal translation. So we can just say a translation and we can put the vector, that's fine. Okay, so we can say a translation, but this time the translation would be 60, 0, and then we would have our vertical stretch, and the this is in the y direction, and the scale factor would be 4. Okay, so these are the alternative ways of dealing with it. So we could deal with it exactly as it's written. Okay, in that case, opposite of BIDMAS means we deal with the subtraction before the multiplication. Okay, in this case, if we take out a half, like kind of like a factor, a half times x minus 60 is the same as a half x minus 30. Then we deal with what's inside we deal with what's inside the bracket second. So we have to deal with the stretch first, and then it's like we deal with the multiplication and then the bracket. So here, this is considered what's inside the bracket. So first of all, we deal with the half. So first of all, we do a horizontal stretch of factor 2. Then we do translation of 60 to the right. Okay, and then in either case, the last thing is the vertical stretch, the thing that's affecting the y. So there's two alternative ways of doing it. Okay, so if you weren't sure about what the mark scheme was talking about in the second example, the second way of doing it, that's what they're talking about. Okay, so there's the answer to question number 8A. Okay, now I'm going to do 8B on a separate video because this is all about transformations. So I'll do 8B on a separate video. So you'll see the paper or the playlist for this paper will be in the top right of the screen. So part B of this question and other questions I might be asked to answer from this paper will be in the playlist that will appear in this region here. You'll find my playlist about transformations of functions in the screen, bottom of the right of the screen here. I'll put my trigonometry playlist over here, and you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on this link. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.